Hello, everybody. Today is February 28th. It is a Friday. It is what I call the de facto end of winter for East Tennessee. But anyway, so I'm sure everybody heard about the explosion at the White House today between particularly J.D. Vance and then Trump and Zelensky. Very interesting. This comes on the heels of the meeting with Starmer, which, I don't care what anybody said. That guy's one big scumbag and whatever. He announced today he's going to increase his defense spending to 2.5% GDP. So instead of an army of 70,000, maybe they'll have an army of 75,000. So, or I'm sorry, they're at 72,000 now, I believe is the correct number. But anyway, so let's go right in and get to the heated part of the clip. From the exchange in the Oval Office today.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are not strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful?
All right, so just want to let you know that I think it's interesting that he's bringing up because we're talking about that. I have shown videos, people coming off the streets. They built barbed wire along the Tisa River where people were going across the river. Okay, people are hiding, escaping. People that the Ukrainian government wants back that have left to Europe, they don't want to come back. They've been pressuring European governments to send them back. Okay, excuse me. General Sersky gave an interview in the Kiev Independent a few weeks back where he specifically said that our 20,000 conscripts a month is not enough to replace what they're losing. Okay? Just do the math. It's right there. Okay? And then he's going to have you been to Ukraine. And what's very interesting, he brought up two other points, J.D. Vance, right there. He brought up one, okay, you're doing this in front of the media, right? Because this is always a show. Right? He goes to a European country, the parliamentarians clap, the European leader kisses his ass, okay? Zelensky gets another house somewhere, or more money to funnel things, all right? And what they also do is, because, he's like a puppet, right? Remember, Kolomoisky backed him, okay? This whole Ukraine thing started way back when 2014, you can go back even further, 2008, okay? So they're losing, okay, these amount of soldiers, okay? And like he said, you're parading them around, and that's what happens, right? You parade, like Mike Pence said, oh, I went and they took him around. Well, of course, they're going to take you where you want to go, where they want you to see. So you're only going to hear the stories from their government officials, the president. So you're only, if they're just, it's like, a real estate agent who goes and will show you only the good parts of the house. Well, that's exactly what happens. They're going to show you what they don't bring him to the Donbass, to the battlefield, to interview the people there. Okay. Definitely not on the Russian side as well. You're never going to hear that side of the story when you go over there. So, and that's the point he's trying to make, So I think that's very interesting how J.D. Vance said that. So let's go back to the video.
I will answer.
To come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country.
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You
God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
Feel influenced.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influenced.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the
bad
very
position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I
You don't
was
have
in
the cards right now. With us, you start
I'm
having
not playing
cards. But
cards.
right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
Yeah, you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War
What do you-
III.
what do you
You're
think about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm-
That's
with
back
all
to
respect to
you.
your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
I'm wearing
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A
This
lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire
today.
meeting, have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for
What-
the United
what
States
are
of
you speaking
America
about?
and the president who's trying to save your country.
So that last minute had a lot to unpack. So first of all, Zelensky says, you have problems and more. That's true. Everybody does. Even if you're winning, you're going to have everything from logistical problems to setbacks. Even the last months of World War II, we had setbacks from Operation Market Garden to a couple retaliatory attacks on the Eastern Front. So, that is very true from Zelensky. So, but then Trump jumps in and he specifically says, you're in no position without the United States. And that is correct. We give them monthly income to fund their government, to keep their pensions going. Okay? Now, we give them money. The State Department just pulled the restoration of the grid, electrical grid, funds that were going to go to that, which is rightfully so, because Russia has been systematically dismantling these substations. And they do it in a way so it doesn't completely cripple the electrical grid, so that there's still some electricity for civilian infrastructure. Okay? They target the ones that they believe are key towards military bases, and they don't take out the whole, they just take out specific substations, right? Those are those little small substations that you might see in your neighborhood driving right, those things. Okay? So basically, you have this situation. And it's the military equipment, okay? If you add up the entire production, let's just take 155 millimeter shells, okay? You add up U.S. and European production, it does not match Russian production. So clearly Ukraine can't do it. And we've lowered our stocks. We've pulled stocks out of Israel. We pulled stocks out of Korea. We've ramped production, and it's still not enough to keep up. Okay? And Russia's been systematically doing that. They cannot go anywhere without the United States. It's like every other video I've seen of a drone attack destroying an equipment. It's always a Bradley. Another Bradley destroyed. Another Bradley destroyed. Well, if they didn't even have the Bradleys, they wouldn't be up on that battlefield. Okay, the Challenger tanks, I haven't seen a video recently of one of them being destroyed because they're destroyed. They're all gone. I haven't seen another video of an Abrams tank, the 30-something we gave them, because they've all been destroyed. Okay, so they wouldn't even got to this point. I think, based on the evidence I've seen in terms of videos on the front, the biggest thing that's supporting them, in my opinion, is the drones, which ironically is the cheapest thing you can get, and even the Ukrainians can make them. Okay, because at least it gives surveillance over that. Because remember, it's a huge open area. Okay, so you take small units and you have to move them across. You go with a column between artillery and drones, boom, they're destroyed. Even Ukraine has enough artillery to take out a small column in the middle of a field. Okay, so so Trump is right. He's in no position. He has all the cards. The United States has the cards over Ukraine. Russia has the cards over Ukraine. Okay? Now this is the point. And you tie it in with what I said earlier. How the charade is when he goes somewhere in front of Parliament, everybody claps, yay for democracy and all this. Globalist bullshit. Neoliberal, neocon, globalist bullshit. And then he says, you're going to feel it soon. So Russia, who's having going slow and steady, okay, as possibly can be, for two main reasons: they're casualty cautious, they don't do blitzkrieg, okay, and the second reason is clearly they have a huge reserve force that they've built up just in case they have to fight NATO. Okay, they started this war, Russia, at about 425,000. Their army was, that's how strong it was. It was mostly defensive in nature. Okay, and now about 1,100,000, okay, and about 600,000 are on the line, and they get rotated out. So they're back to that 400,000 force outside of what's on the battle line. Okay, so but even then, because they're not exposing themselves and they're not doing blitzkrieg like we made the Ukrainians do in the stupid spring offensive of 23, okay, but they're still not going. They're not rolling over. They still, because they're casualty conscious, and if they go and storm these places, they'll lose a lot of men. They don't want to do that. Okay, it's like a steamroller, slowly, the village here, a village there, completely destroy the ability of the Ukrainians in this, let's say, sector by you pinpoint a drone spots an artillery piece, a drone spots a couple tanks in an area, or a fire team. It then will, if it's kamikaze, it'll attack it. If not, the coordinates go. They'll bring in some sort of strike system, whether it's artillery system, missile system, try to take it out. And they'll do that in a certain area. When that area is really, really softened, then they'll start to go in slow. They'll send reconnaissance units first. If they get huge resistance, because infantry has a lot of anti-tank weapons and other sophisticated weapons as well, they don't hit a lot of resistance. Then they might slow down and pull back. So that's how they go. Okay? So doing that, they're not steamrolling. Zelensky's is going with that stupid myth that, like, oh, if the Ukraine falls, it's going, they're going after Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, the Balkans, and then that. And he's trying to sell that neocon globalist bullshit message to right there in the White House. See, Trump and Vance know that's BS. That's why Vance took his position. It's one of the reasons why he won the primary in 22, and it was picked as VP. Okay, and that was my choice for VP, and was right there. And he knew it. You don't air it out in the middle of the Oval Office in front of the press and try to push this on President Trump. And that's what he did. Okay, he tried to use that message. They know it's BS. Okay, yes, this is about where did the impeachment come from? Ukraine. Okay, over a phone call with that man Zelensky. Remember that? That's right. And it was leaked by, Vindman and whatever. By the way, Vindman has ties to Ukraine because he is ethnic Ukrainian, okay, as well. So there, who's on the board of the gas company, Ukrainian gas company? Burisma. Who's it? Hunter Biden was on there. Who was in charge of Ukraine policy during the Obama administration? Joe Biden. Who was behind the... You could go on and on. Okay, this has been a ever plan from the neocons going back to 2008, when the Munich Security Conference, when they first mentioned Ukraine and Georgia joining NATO, and then in 2014, the Maidan coup, the Victoria Nuland, who used to be the ex-chief of staff for Dick Cheney, okay, big neolib, was completely involved in that. So Trump and Vance know all this stuff. So they're not going to be sold on that. Now, the big fear and why they hate Russia so much, okay, they paid him, and it's that World War II mentality. It's black and white. It's good and evil. Russia's bad and evil. That's it. End of story. Forget about any history leading up to it, the concerns, the dialogues, the treaties. Okay. Now, the Soviets, the evil empire, and they were diehard communists, right? They signed these treaties. Well, we pulled out of the INF. We pulled out of the ABM treaties. Russia's like, oh. They developed missile systems, anti-missile systems, the S-series, S-400, 500, 550, out of these treaties withdrawal, because they're like, why do they want out of it? So we got to up our game, and that's what happened. So that's the same with... So that's the position that they're in. And the thing is that when you have a country, because remember, they always want, one of the fears, just like let's keep Russia, the Soviets, and China, we never wanted to marry, as like a basic foreign policy rule, Russian resources with German industrialization. Bad idea. Okay? Well, Russia is pretty industrialized, and particularly now with their economy growing at 4% last year, and we see it with their arms production. They're very self-sufficient. Okay, they have very low debt to GDP. It's about 16-17%. Okay, so they're in pretty good shape. Now we push them into bed with China. So we can't have Russia as a rival European power that could rival our dominance, meaning the United States, and over Europe with these institutions, whether it be NATO, the European Union, etc., these globalist institutions. So we push them out, right? Rand Corporation, study, 2019. We'll hammer them with sanctions. And that's why Boris Johnson flew there in 2022 in April to stop the agreement. Because we figured we could neutralize Russia as a threat to American hegemonic power over there, okay, and really weaken them. And then isolating China, okay, and definitely Iran as well with that. Okay, but the sanctions didn't work because all that everybody pulled their money, the Russians pulled their money and it's investing there, back in Russia. Okay, the European companies pulled out, they rebranded everything. So that's basically what's going on. So that hegemonic as they're a regional hegemon, okay, in that area. Price parity, GDP, the IMF and World Bank has Russia now higher than Germany. Okay, so in terms of GDP. Now, when you factor population, it's probably per citizen, it's then less, but it's only the totality that matters when you're talking about power. They also have the manpower, 145 million people, 150 million people. Okay, so that's the reason why. And they also thought with the resources in the Donbass, okay, the energy and everything like that, hence the rare earth steel, okay, all these resources, we can replace Russia particularly for the Eastern Europeans with Ukrainian. And when we're at it, we're going to get on boards of Burisma and we're going to make money off of it. And we'll bring in Cargill and Monsanto and all this stuff. But the problem was the Donbass, the people of the Donbass, particularly Lugansk and Donetsk, were ethnic Russians. And they declared their independence in 2014. And then there was a war. And then there was the Minsk Accords. And they weren't honored. And Zelensky brought up the Accords and said Russia just violated the security guarantees. But the problem was Ukraine didn't implement their side. Okay? And so that's why they went in with that. You're not implementing it. The militias of the DPR and the LPR are asking us for help. If you watch Russian television and commentators, they were pushing the Russian government to finally get involved in there because they were still at war, the Ukrainian government, military, and the militias. So anyway, so they're not buying. Trump and Vance aren't buying this. Because here's the point. These people keep saying Russia's so weak, Ukraine can win, Ukraine can win. But yet Russia can steamroll Eastern Europe? Well, which one is it? It's not, because it's a strategy game by the globalists for increased hegemonic power resting in these globalist institutions. And that's what it's about. It's just geopolitics. It's a power game. It's a strategic power politics between powerful nations. I mean, and that's what it boils down to. And that's why it's going. And they're willing to sacrifice hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian lives. And this schmuck tries to come into the Oval Office, who, by the way, was going to sign the deal until Boris came, and then insults the president. Tries to do in front of the media and in front of the president like some sort of showmanship, because he's an actor, so you got two showmans, Trump, Zelensky, going at it. It's actually J.D. Vance that starts to push back against him, because he wanted to see, figured, they won't back up, he won't challenge the new world order that I represent, Zelensky, but he's more of a puppet, okay, and that's wrong. JD slammed the door right in his face, and that was absolutely awesome. And then at the tail end there, he brings up, you're campaigning, that's right. He's out there with the Democrats in an arms factory in Pennsylvania. Come on. I think this is a really good thing. And we know State Department stopped sending money to the grid, which could be a waste anyway because they'll rebuild. And boom. But here's the deal, and this is so true. The Trump administration pulled the plug on the funds. It's over. That's it. They don't have the medical equipment. They don't have the funds to run their government, to pay their employees. They don't have arms. European stocks are low. A lot of these bills we've passed, like the Ukraine bill, is to replace stocks that we've already sent over. It's just not even built yet. They would collapse. And in a previous video, I showed you that the Wall Street Journal occurred, but there was a big study at the University of Bremen in Germany that said without U.S. support, late summer, early fall, that's it. They don't have anything. So that's it. Okay? And you got these people who, on the Ukrainian side, are going to continue to avoid because they think the war is coming to an end soon. Anyway, if there's a peace deal, so why risk my life if there's only war for 3 more months, 4 more months? All I got to do is make it live, so I don't care about the cause anymore. All right? So that's what's going on, So I just wanted to give my commentary on it. I thought it was fantastic how they pushed back and to expose what's going on. And Zelensky's just the tip of the iceberg. It's this institutionalized neoliberal, neoconservative global new world order. That's it. That they've tried to, since the end of the Cold War, enact control. And the two big things happen. Russia started to develop, and then China, which they made the factory of the world, with 1 billion people, are surprised they're showing power. They just want them to be a good little factory and shut up. We'll let you in the World Trade Organization. You have our factories, make cheap goods off cheap labor. You get to stay in power, CCP, and that. And it doesn't work. Because nations go, well, now I'm a big, powerful nation. I want to be the big boy on the block. I don't want your ships near me. Okay, you're going to keep your ships near me. I'll send ships near you. And that's how it goes. So I just want to give my thoughts on what happened today because I thought that was awesome. So moving on a bit, this was Trump's response to everything. We had a very meaningful meeting in the White House today. Much was learned that could never be understood without conversation under such fire and pressure. It's amazing what comes out through emotion. And I've determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. And I don't want advantage, I want peace. He disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he's ready for peace. Yeah, that's what he's saying. He knows he's backed by the United States and the European powers. The European powers don't have anything left to give. What are they going to do? Like I said, Britain's going to send their whole army, 75,000. France more than that. It doesn't work that way. You have to have troops behind. So 30,000 they'll deploy. That'll be missile strikes before they can cross the Polish border. That's what would happen. So here's Charlie Kirk. Reactions. A lot of European leaders have come out in the past 3 hours to express their unwavering support for Zelensky. Great. Maybe they'll be happy to pay the cost of this war for once. Money and weapons will win more wars than platitudes. True. So, speaking of reactions, here we go. Puppet leaders all have the same pre-scripted message. It's like when you see these montages that conservative shows and conservative radio shows play. It's the same verbiage, like on the Sunday morning talk shows when all these liberal talk show hosts and guests are all on the same page as if it wasn't planned. Be strong, be brave, be fearless. Be strong, be brave, be fearless. Be strong, be brave, be fearless. You are never alone, dear President. Look at these freaking hawkish people. They have no clue of the history. Zero. They just see what the institutions tell them. They believe in the institutions. It's the same mentality with COVID and everything else. Oh, this is it. See, and this is what these people think is democracy, not the right to vote and the power to the people. Nope. They view democracy today as all the institutions that they have built basically since World War II and specifically since the Cold War. whether it's Europe, internationally, or here in the United States. And it's those institutions that is democracy. And that's what they believe. They're statist institutionalists. They do not believe in we the people. Just in, Zelensky's empire crumbling. Ukrainian MP demands impeachment after Oval Office meltdown. In a stunning turn of events, Ukrainian MP Alexander Dubinsky has ignited a firestorm by demanding an emergency session of parliament to impeach President Volodymyr Zelensky. So, that happened afterward. There's been other calls from what I understand. What they are afraid of is that Trump's, in my opinion, Trump is going to really just threaten to pull the plug and say, this is it. Because of what you did, you don't want peace. You try to do this. You can't have this. You're going to make peace now. We're going to strong arm you. Maybe we'll give you some time to turn around. And they know this, so they're afraid. So we got to get rid of Zelensky and get somebody in here so we don't lose our standing and our strength in upcoming negotiations. Okay, because if the U.S. pulls its funding, there's not enough from the Europeans to replace that. Maybe buy them a little bit more time, but basically not really, and therefore we're done. And then what's going to happen to us in government? What are the Russians going to do when our army collapses in the next 4 to 6 months completely? We can't pay the soldiers. They abandon the lines. Do they march towards Kiev? What happens to us now personally? So, that's why we got to get rid of this guy, because they know too, as do I and others with common sense, that for a while there, we made Ukraine the de facto 51st state. Forget Canada, right? And it just, you're paying their pensions, their health care. He pulls the plug, boom. So that's what they're afraid of. So while you're getting these European globalists, here's a Ukrainian member of the Rada going, oh, by the way, because there's no elections, he's probably illegitimate too, since there were no elections back in May when these people's terms expired. Just like Zelensky's not. Yeah, it's one of the Russians' point is like the next leader after Russian, if we sign anything with them, is like, well, Zelensky didn't have the right to sign because he wasn't elected because his term expired in May of 24. Breaking, Hungary Prime Minister Viktor Orban releases a statement after President Trump's meeting with Zelensky. Strong men make peace. Weak men make war. Today, President Trump stood bravely for peace, even if it was difficult for many to digest. Thank you, Mr. President. This guy who lives in reality. He's a guy that knows that Russia is not a threat to Europe. They're interested in their security, and he said it. He said in an interview with Tucker Wilson, and he knows. He's spoken to them before and knows that, and Hungary's right up there. There are ethnic Hungarians that live in Ukraine, okay, along the Carpathian Mountains. Okay, who don't want to go, and I've seen videos there of them resisting getting dragged out. Imagine being like a Hungarian, and because of stupid borders and World War II and the Cold War and everything, you end up one day in Ukraine, nothing in common with the Ukrainians except your Eastern European, maybe Slavic people, right? And, there's this war going on between Russia and and Ukraine, and you're like, because I'm in this border, when I would love to be actually part of Hungary, I now got to go fight the Russians. And believe me, the Hungarians don't have a great history, with everything in the Soviet era and so forth, but they live in the world now, and they realize that was 80 years ago, and that Russia is not Soviet Russia anymore. It's actually had a revival of Christianity. It's many Western stuff. They used to buy lots of Western goods. They actually have an inferiority complex. I even did a video how that's changed since not the war, since the sanctions, and they've become more proud. And anyway, but I'm not going to go into Russian culture today. But he's a guy recognizing the situation. And he's expressed he knows the Ukrainian people are being used by these institutions, okay? He's a guy who's tried to change it, whatever, and then his own institutions strong-arm him all the time that he's a member of. Who strong-arms their own members? They don't like his immigration policies. They don't like this policy, and they give him a hard time. It's like Poland. Poland, under the previous government, while being applauded for taking so many Ukrainian refugees, was also being, this is the Law and Justice Party, or Poland ran in up till the end of 23. They were being sanctioned because they didn't allow for this like trans LGBT kind of stuff. So they were being sanctioned, applauded on one hand and strong-armed and sanctioned by the European Union, which they're a member of, on the other. I mean, that's who these globalists are. And Viktor Orban understands that. And it's like, why doesn't Hungary leave the EU? Because they're a landlocked country and there are economic benefits for it. So he tries as much leverage as he can. And since he's so popular, he can do that. At least within Hungary, he is. Now, I've brought this up twice in a video, but I want people to understand the earths. The rare earth deal. Okay, again, this is a chart. The gray is Russian control. 63% of Ukrainian coal is under Russian control. 11% of Ukrainian oil is now under Russian control. Gas, 20%. Okay? Metals, 42%. See, all real here in the Donbass. And then it's coal and gas sprinkled up here and oil that's not in the Donbass. Actually, it's, Sumy, Kharkov region, northwest of that even. Okay, that's where you start to get real ethnic Ukrainians up in there. Okay, but that's not what we want. Ores, 31% under Russian control. Rare earths, a third already. And they're still concentrated here. So if no peace deal goes, and even if this minerals deal goes, if they go up to the Dnieper River, well, here, all this section, all these things, the red, the greens, the light blues, just west of the Donbass, will be part of Russia anyway. It's a useless deal. And who's going to mine there in the middle of a battlefield? It's absurd. So I don't know what was really going on there. Do they have bad information? Do they really think the peace deal is going to do it? And by the time they can get the investments going and the construction to start really mining these things and getting into they expect peace to happen. I don't know the specific details, but I just conceptually, I just wanted you to have an understanding of that. So how is Ukraine doing? Well, this is a little village that's taken. This is a hard-fought area. It's really open near Pokrovsk, northwest. They're still driving around it. That's today, taking this village here. This is Kursk. This is the bulge. Over 70% now is back under Russian control. All right. You can see the two recent attacks where these explosions are. I verified this map with other mappers. I just like this one particular map. But they're pushing now. Ukrainians can't hold. Now, in this little area here, okay, this little wedge here where the Kursk meets the Sumy region. So Kursk is this bulge here where the Russians are moving in. And then you have Sumy region over here, okay, where they come together. And I had mentioned a village that had fallen right along the border, and they did. Russians took this little village, and then they're moving into here. I believe it's called Nakevishko, if I remember how it was pronounced. But the key is not that it's important. It's cutting off the supply route, and it's driving now from Kursk, the Russian side, into the Sumy region, which is the Ukrainian side. So they're cutting off supplies for Ukraine to reinforce in the bulge. And at the same time, it looks like they might begin to start surrounding the remaining Ukrainian forces in Kursk, probably causing them to make them panic and withdraw. Everywhere you go on the battlefield, Ukraine is losing. And the casualty ratios are against them. Because everything else is. So that's it for Ukraine, but I wanted to also real quick touch on this Epstein thing. It was a big nothing burger. Nothing was on it. We got the list, but they were holding stuff. That's what we knew. And this would be the big story today if it wasn't for what happened in the Oval Office with Elensky. So, corruption. The entire SDNY office, including James Comey's daughter, should be fired or reassigned. Agree. I agree dramatically. I agree with Nicole Shanahan. Shut down the SDNY. If they actively obstructed the DOJ and FBI, they should no longer be in operation. So, further on that, it's not that they obstructed the DOJ. It's that Trump knew about it, authorized it. It's a presidential order. The head of the executive branch, elected by the people, Article 2, they're violating him. Fire them all, close the office, end of story. Divide their cases up among another office or reorganize. I've always favored taking these. I would prefer to just get rid of the FBI, set up specific anti-terrorist, anti-counterintelligence United States, specific little small sub-agencies, take the core of the FBI and put it directly under the U.S. attorneys. This way they're appointed by presidents, confirmed, etc. So there's accountability there. Okay? But if they're hiding or doing something or involved, that's it. The president is in charge of the executive branch. Our founding fathers specifically put it all into the president's hand because he was the only one elected in that branch. His counterbalance is the judiciary and the legislative branch. This is Civics 101, people. Okay? And that's it. So, on that note, I love what happened today. I hope Trump just gets serious. Let's pull the plug. Gets on the phone. We're going to end this war. Let's end this war. Zelensky, you got to make a deal. You're going to have to give up the oblasts. You're not joining NATO. You're going to hold elections. And that's it. And then the next person's going to sign those papers as well. And it's going to go into your constitution. And that's it. We have the leverage. Russia has the leverage by virtue of the battlefield. Ukraine does not. And that is reality. And we, as Americans, have no national interest in a war over the Donbass. What we do have is, for the safety of the entire world, the responsibility to have relations with probably the third largest power in the world, Russia, and probably the strongest military in the world, Russia, next to the United States. Okay? And we also have, in our interest, to make sure Russia has a relationship with the West so it is not in bed with China. Okay? And we shouldn't also be going up in China's backyard and getting them to be antagonistic, especially since we get, all our medicine from there, among other things, okay, that we need because we outsourced it for corporate greed. Okay? So when you want to trust in institutions, just remember that if there's ever a conflict in China and your daddy and granddad can't get their blood pressure medications or a medical, prosthesis or something like that because China cut it off because we're at war with them, just remember it was greedy, corporatist, globalist scumbags coupled with Wall Street and other New World Order types that put together this system. So, anyway, that's the end of my video. I'm going to be keeping out what's going on this Zelensky thing, more updates on the battlefield. Oh, one more thing. I've heard rumors that Russia's massing some troops in north of Kharkiv region. I heard 150 to 200. Zelensky said the other day about 150,000 while he was in Ukraine. Other people saying as much as 200,000. There could be training exercises. I have no idea. But if that's true, they could be trying to do something. Maybe they want to do one last real big drive before peace negotiations, strengthen their hand anymore. Don't know. But that's the rumors. I'll be keeping an eye on for that. Also, with the budget going on, then we know we took the House. Well, keep an eye on what's going on. Any rumors out there with the Senate and what they're planning over there. See what the House is, any other legislation, because like I said, I don't think they cut enough at all in that budget. And also the immigration numbers, they're doing really good. So I think 95% of what they were. So that's pretty good. Because people aren't going to come. They're not going to come. It's a deterrence. So that's good. So we'll keep an eye on everything going forward. And yeah, so you can follow me at Patriot Planner 1 on my X, and on my Getter I am at Patriot Planner. So if you like this video, please like, follow, and share. All right? Thanks a lot, and have a great weekend.